Well, considering that I've just been accused of denying basic facts, I would really like a Tale of Twin Rabbit to describe which basic facts I've denied.
Good stuff.
All right, here we go. Yeah.
In your opening statement, you said that these deaths didn't occur and that these bodies weren't found.
That's not what I said, is it? I said there were no mass graves found.
I would be curious to know what your evidence is for that claim.
I would be curious to know
what your evidence is for that claim.
That claim.
Now he sounds a little more robotic now that he's knocked off his game. He's like, oh, shit.
Yeah.
It's like a William Shatner parody voice almost.
It's a really bad start because he's made a claim about it. She asked for proof. He's given a second claim, and she's like, "It's not true." So it's like, oof, really bad start. If the first claim you make is fucking false, so of course he's already rustled. That's the thing with these sorts of debates. If you want to score points, you've really got to be accurate on the fly. Like,
well, score points with who?
The audience.
Because the audience has already made up their mind.
Retarded, right? Yeah.
It doesn't. Well, it doesn't really matter. You still remember Lance is specifically here to score points with the audience. That is the only thing he's doing.
Exactly.
And if you were like,
that worked out really well.
He thought it did.
Because that's how. If that was his primary goal, and he focused on it, you'd think he'd do really good at it.
You'd think. Unfortunately, yeah. Like so the digging into Lauren, that is like automatic 10 points every time you do it. It's like, oh yes,
right,
so good. Thing is, if you don't do it very well, it's going to backfire significantly. Meanwhile, why don't you just talk to her? What a crazy idea that would be.
Because that doesn't score you the points that you're looking for.
Because that's cooperating with a Nazi.
Yes.
A Nazi.
Oh my god, that's so funny.
I mean, people in Lance chat are already saying Lauren is acting in bad faith and that she is a smug cow. So that shows you where they are emotionally.
Well, that's the thing. I want to try and be as unbiased with a lot of them as I can, no matter what history I've got for a lot of them. It's like this performance in and of itself, let's do it. And it's like the first thing to really comment on is like, so he's dug into it, let's, how's he going to substantiate it? She's barely said anything.
Firstly, I would like to ask both you and Lance to describe which mass graves have been found in Canada, and then I can respond to that.
Oh, and by the way, this will happen in a second, but like the first thing is defining mass grave, right? And if I guess we should do it as a team of 4 right now, but like, would you guys go with it's a large amount of bodies and non-separated graves with no markings to sort of give it away? Like a lot of people in one area.
Enough.
Yes.
Yeah. Generally, mass graves are not done for their scenic value or their respect value. Yeah. They're just literally just body disposal.
Yeah. And so we all assume
body disposal.
You all know what everyone's picturing. It's when you dig those big holes and you toss all the bodies into it.
Yes.
Yep. Black and white pictures. Oh my god.
Yeah, when a bunch of people all buried at once in the same hole for quick disposal. Yes.
Of which there is a very big difference between that and a graveyard.
There's a very big difference.
Let's see if they manage to get to that point of figuring that out.
You'd hope that would go without saying, but unfortunately it does not.
Would you like to be more specific, as in the one that was...
Well, you're saying I'm lying by saying no mass graves have been found, so tell me, where have the mass graves been found?
Well, the story that kicked it off was the Kempelus residential school mass graves that were identified using ground-penetrating radar.
Right, and ground-penetrating radar cannot detect bodies.
Are you saying that as an assertion?
That's a long pause.
Well, so what you'll discover very quickly is that so this is what happens, I guess, when you're super overconfident in your team being right. You don't look into any of the details. You don't check the details. So you're like, of course 2 + 2 is 5, and you're like, have you looked into what 2s are? Like,
exactly.
What?
Well, and this is really bad because when I was researching this conversation, basically every article I found about the GPR finding the graves, they all said this. They all said that GPR doesn't find organic matter, just finds disturbed soil or metallic substances. They all made this point. So
is it a psychologist?
Yeah, exactly.
Disturbed soil.
They found all the disturbed soil. So to me, it's like, does this mean that neither Lance nor Twin Rabbits read even the most basic news article about this incident?
That's exactly what it means.
This was the topic of the, just basic amount of, should read a couple of articles to see what is said.
So this is the thing. Like I said, going in nice and unbiased, but Lance has a history of this. He'll speak on topics, and then someone will ask him a basic question. And he's like, "Fuck, really?
Can you spell socialism?"
You'd have to look into it.
So I
agree with the Ministry of Truth on the spelling of socialism, whatever it may be.
I will say that bringing up this point is actually, I think, a bad tactical decision for Lauren to make, because the question isn't really whether there are bodies buried there. It's, well, is this just an unmarked graveyard or a mass grave? That's like the real point of contention, and it's just kind of muddying the waters up, I guess.
If the contention, if it is or not, trying to establish how they know that it could be is, I mean, it makes sense to me.
Well, because the problem is that if you argue, well, we don't know if there are bodies there, then you can't really, it's kind of difficult to then turn around and argue, well, it's not a mass grave, it's unmarked graves. Because you earlier said,
if there's no bodies, if you can't determine if there's even bodies there, it can't be either.
Sure, but that's what I'm saying. So you can't then turn around and then argue that it's an unmarked graveyard if you're saying that there's no bodies there, or we don't know if there are bodies there.
Well, it just needs to be that you don't have any reason to believe there is, and we don't know yet, and that's the only thing you're trying to assert, undermining the confidence of the other side.
Yeah, I was about to say, because there's two conversations happening at once. One is actually figuring this out, and the other one is how they all look to the audience.
Yes.
And Lauren having asked this question put him in a stun lock, so it's pretty good.
I guess it's a good opening gambit, because it shows they don't know what the technology does.
Yeah, because he should be responding instantly. He should be like, what do you mean? Of course, we've got blah, 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 blah. It's like, what have you looked into? But instead he was like,
he's like, oh shit. He did the Anthony Hopkins, oh shit.
He did, from Ragnarok.
He's contemplating how he had to delete his social media presence after this. That's what he was doing.
That's right.
Like, he definitely deleted his Twitter. I didn't see any confirmation from chat or not if he went further than that, but I know he got rid of the Twitter and we will go over why that happens as this goes.
Does he have continues. A YouTube? I can check.
He must stream. He says he streams indigenous video games or something.
It doesn't look like
God, wait for them to mention that.
No, it's cartoons that pop up. It's the world of Peter Rabbit and friends and things like that.
He might have got rid of all of the channels. I'm not actually sure.
Yeah, but, there's no YouTube here for him.
Let's just say there is a good reason why that might have happened.
Oh my goodness gracious.
Get excited.
Ground penetrating radar cannot detect bodies.
Are you saying that as an assertion?
Absolutely. You can go look this up. In fact, the woman...
I just want to appreciate that.
Are you saying that is a light secondary opinion you might be holding in the future? Or,
she makes a statement. He started. He just says, "I'd like to confirm that is a statement you have made."
Is the thing that you said is true? Are you saying that's an assertion you're making?
He just wants to delay as much as possible.
I know.
It's
such a stall for time. That's all it is. Such a bold-faced stall for time. Not only that, the guy who his whole opening statement was assertion, like just blind assertion. All he's done is make assertion.
Who conducted the GPR herself actually went to my university. She said herself, "We cannot confirm anything. This is simply an assumption based on," and I would encourage people watching to go and take a look at what.
That comes up later. She just said she went to her university. I didn't hear her say she was best friends with her or anything.
When we're getting to very, very specific sort of control of the conversation, probably wasn't worth saying that, because
I know
it's a piece of information that can only be used against you probably.
Yeah.
Well, because what they will say is like, "Oh, you got a bias toward this person, or you're trying to say you have more authority over this person because you knew them or something." Like, bringing that up doesn't help her at all.
No.
Yeah, I think you're right on a technical and a logical level, but the way that Twin Rabbits later tries to use it against her is so mismanaged that I think it backfires.
Well, so this is the benefit we have when you review a debate. You get to be like robotic in terms of what you should and shouldn't have said. And to be fair, if someone said like, "I'm bringing it up because it's true," or whatever, like, I'm not going to expect people to use it in bad faith. I'd be like, that's fine. You know, like, you're probably not against the best people for that, but at the same time, you know, like, if something is simply true and it's just a part of how you explained it, and then someone tries to use that against you, it's just like frustrating. So you're like, "Oh, I only said it because, like, it's just fucking true." It's not like the
images ground penetrating.
I mean,
radar show.
Spending time and thinking what are mistakes and not mistakes are good. Just because, I mean, it's super difficult to do in a debate. Monday morning quarterback debate is so much easier. But if you don't do this, you don't get better at the debate. You don't get better at the moment.
I find it super interesting to discuss debates in post sometimes. Like it can be fascinating to see how things were going and where they were going, where they could have gone and all that. But also, I feel a little bit bad for her. She's essentially the underdog because she has to work up where everyone else gets to sit on their thrones and be like,
I agree.
You have to earn the right to talk to us, sort of shit. Where she has to go and look at all the articles. She has to cite details, while they can get away with just being like, "Nah, you're wrong, lol." Or can they?
Yeah.
So they just show anomalies in the ground. They don't give you any context. They don't tell you if bodies are there. The anomalies could appear to be graves. Do they know if this grave site is just an overgrown graveyard? Do they know if it was the community graveyard? Do they know if there are any bodies in?
To make sure we're clear on the matter of this conversation as well, they made a huge deal about how restorative justice is necessary, and now she's responding as well as correcting the record on whether or not she lied. We don't know what the crime is yet. How can we talk about justice when we don't know what we're even responding to?
Only hypothetically.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Well, even still, if I said, Rags, what is the proper justice for event of unspecified things? You're like, I don't...
Death.
Always death. Always go with death. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like we're gonna season 1 Star Trek this.
Just
shit.
play it safe. Yeah, death.
And
Retribution is a just
the woman
punishment.
who did the ground penetration test in Kamloops, which sparked this all off, stated, "We cannot know if there are any bodies under here until someone has dug this up and they've exhumed the bodies, if they are there." And not only that, but the tribe leader there in Canada of the Kamloops band that brought out the initial statement about this said, even if there are bodies under the ground here, it's not a mass grave. And these are just preliminary findings, which has been the general consensus of all of these grave sites.
So that feels open and shut, It's
like we're done. We need to move to something else, or we need to discuss hypotheticals.
Hypothetical just at that point. So then you need to go to, let's say, for example, this is a mass grave, even though we don't know that. What should the justice be? That's what you have to move to then.
Sites found that they are not mass graves, and portraying it as such is deliberately misstating the truth and trying to make it seem as though Canada were committing some Holocaust where they were lining children up.
She's also got a great point here. If you want to talk about denying genocide, making one up is also incredibly damaging.
You're really going to muddy the waters in terms of what is and isn't genocide, and you don't want to do that. You want to be very clear.
Well,
this is not the time to be ambiguous.
As it's been demonstrated by the topic, people get very moved by genocide to the point where they might toss a Molotov into a church.
Yeah,
right.
We don't
be
want
careful.
You're going to get people doing horrible things in response, and if you cry wolf about this, then no one's going to believe you when the actual genocide is occurring.
Yeah.
We've seen a lot of words be treated like that. Nazi, racist, etc.
There's that famous story, the boy who cried genocide.
And the boy who made genocide.
Oh my God.
Ooh.
Shooting them and throwing them in a grave that they dug. When we are talking about graveyards, if there are any bodies at all.
Okay, you just said that the woman who did the GPR examination went to college with you. The director of the company that actually did it is a man named Julio. So who did you go to school with?
Oh my God.
No, she's an instructor.
See, so like all it's done is give an opportunity for him to. It's funny because it's not even the fucking point, man. Like, why?
I know.
You said you went to school together. Like, no.
What he said makes no sense, and this is why I'm instantly like, this guy is a dishonest hack, because he says, you said you went to the school with the woman who did the study, but the guy who's the director of the company is a guy. It's like,
he
looked
it up.
The
he
director
literally
of the
Googled
company
it.
doing every individual study that happens like in the world? Like, what the fuck are you talking about?
He's probably doing like marketing and payroll and stuff.
Yeah, exactly. That's like saying, oh, you claim to know someone that works at Amazon, but they're not named Jeff Bezos. Are you sure you know someone that works at Amazon?
Yeah, if I go into Walmart and the tag is rubbed off the product when I bring it to the cashier, I'm not going to say, bring me the CEO of Walmart. I want you to perform necromancy on Sam Walton himself so that he can put things right. I'm going straight to the source. I don't want to see our manager. I want to see Sam.
you're doing it as a sort of like a meme, and then they bring out like the necromancer, and they're like, "Hang on," he's like, and he starts throwing bones in a circle.
That's the problem here. Just press this button into that, and then just it's fine.
What?
It's fine. We're fucking.
There are no deals given in my day. It should be raised $20. Fuck you.
They want to speak to Sam again.
Wait a second.
All
Where
right.
did the smiley face go? I like the smiley face.
Good times.